I'm Tim Tyler, and this is a video about ubiquitous instrumental values. First though, instrumental values. Instrumental values are things that are not particularly intrinsically valuable in themselves, but nonetheless have a kind of intermediate value since they contribute towards achieving ultimate goals. One example of something with instrumental value is paper money. Money is often just decorated bits of paper. It has minimal intrinsic value, and its main value arises through what you can do with it in a social environment. It's hypothesized that there's a class of instrumental values that are widespread amongst goal-seeking agents. Here we will call these ubiquitous instrumental values. They are things that most goal-seeking agents are likely to assign instrumental value to. The ubiquitous instrumental values appear to prominently include control over space-time and mass energy, resulting in power and security. Technological development appears to be a ubiquitous instrumental value, at least amongst sufficiently advanced agents, as is inhibiting or eliminating potential competitors. Information gathering, truth-seeking, avoiding self-deception, and being rational are other candidates. And in the absence of alchemy, each element might count as being its own form of ubiquitous instrumental value. The list of values here could easily be extended further. Ubiquitous instrumental values have been referred to under a variety of other names. Rocco called them universal instrumental values. Steve Omohundro refers to them as basic AI drives. Richard Hollerith has a similar concept, which he calls goal system zero. I think Rocco has got the best terminology, although his universal term seems a little bit too grand for me to endorse. Rocco introduced his version of the idea as follows. It may be true that for a very wide class of notions of intrinsic value, you always end up with the same notion of instrumental value. Let me call this hypothesis the universal instrumental value hypothesis. Steve Omohundro has written some nice papers on this topic. His list of ubiquitous instrumental values included things like protecting your goals from modification, clarifying your goals to yourself, and avoiding behaviour analogous to drug taking. He emphasised that these were things that a broad class of intelligent agents would want unless opposing desires were explicitly programmed into them. Richard Hollerith claims to have first come across the idea way back in 1992. He proposes that agents that do not employ much in the way of temporal discounting are likely to pursue ubiquitous instrumental values almost exclusively for extended periods of time before feeling secure enough to go on to do other things. Another stimulating idea from Hollerith is to classify deviations from ubiquitous instrumental values as being moral contaminants. I once made a popular presentation on the subject of moral contaminants, calling powerful agents suffering from them handicapped superintelligences. Many handicapped superintelligences with moral contaminants would maximise something other than entropy production, perhaps gold atoms or whatever else that they valued. They might thus leave behind a low entropy state, such as a big pile of gold. The idea of ubiquitous instrumental values also links up to the alas still little known idea that living systems maximise entropy production. Agents pursuing ubiquitous instrumental values would leave nothing behind them. They'd care for nothing except for the future representation of their own heritable information, and in doing so would locally maximise the increase in entropy. I refer to this idea as God's utility function. The idea that we might create a handicapped superintelligence which leaves behind a low entropy state and fails to maximise entropy runs counter to the principle of maximum entropy production. And lastly, a few words about the significance of these ideas. The idea of ubiquitous instrumental values seems to be an important one to me. It provides an elegant naturalistic basis for moral behaviour which is independent of the details of today's biological systems. This is something which moral philosophers seem likely to be interested in. It gives us a guide relating to what machine intelligence is likely to want. Also, it gives us a guide to what values we should pursue if we are interested in maximising the chances of the long-term survival of our civilization. Enjoy.